Hello, everyone, and welcome to Flawless, a music podcast. My name is Liam, and I'm here with my co-host, Grant.
Hello there, music fans.
And George.
Jeez.
That was terrible. Sorry, for everyone not in the room, everybody, I just said Grant and looked at George, so they both freaked out. So, Grant has said hello.
Hello.
George.
Hello, music aficionados.
Yes. Hopefully. Or if you're not and you're learning about music through us,
Always.
even better. Not that I'd even call ourselves aficionados.
Oh, I'm not. I'm
I'm just
expecting
there's so much you can't know. It's just like, it's too hard. Anyway, hopefully no one heard that and went, oh, I'm not going to listen to these idiots then. Anyway, each episode of Flawless, a host or a guest nominates an album they think is flawless, and we discuss how they discovered it, what they love about it, and what makes it flawless for them. We have a Facebook group. It's called Flawless Friends and Family. It's where we discuss all things music that we love and that you love, and we post in there about upcoming episodes and what albums we've nominated. Except not this time. We forgot. Sorry. You can find the link in our show notes. If you want to post in there, if you're a member of the group and you want to post in there, go ahead. It's open posting. There's no moderation. Throw some stuff in there about the music that you love.
And if you are expecting us to record, or you know our schedules somehow, and you are saying, what are you doing tonight, guys? Then you could post in there, and we could say, oh, actually, we're recording this particular album.
Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely. And, of course, we have a Patreon. You can back us from as little as $1 a month, and you get early access to our episodes, access to our bonus episodes, and that warm, fuzzy feeling inside that you're helping us spread the Flawless love. You can find us at patreon.com/flawlessamp. Wouldn't say it keeps the lights on. We'd still be doing it even if we didn't have it, but, yeah, we don't have any sponsors.
It is
or
capped as well,
advertising or
though. We forgot.
It is capped. I think the latest cap was 200 million Patreons.
Yeah, was it? We upped it a bit. Okay.
They upped it a bit, yeah.
They're running out fast.
They had it at 100 million. We asked them. We were just getting smashed. My DMs were going crazy.
Sure.
I said,
again.
Patreon, please, for the love of my DMs,
Yeah.
let us have 200 million people. And we're nearly there too. So I'll be sending another email to Patreon in the coming days, begging them for another expansion.
Liam does all the admin for this cohort.
It's a lot of talking to Patreon, begging them to let people give us money.
Increase the cap.
Yeah.
I know, right?
And we get a cut too, right?
That's monthly, so
Because
we keep doing it even though we're making 200 million a month. That's the thing I don't understand.
They're nutters, aren't they?
Love of the game.
Love of the game.
And music.
And music.
And
music
aficionado
lovers. And
aspirations.
Yes.
Yes, thanks, Grant.
There we go.
Because I'm introducing the episode, it means it's my turn to nominate an album.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
And I meant to go through and look through my history, but I feel like I've been letting down Australian music.
I think you have.
As the sole Australian-born person on the podcast, the person who grew up musically listening to Australian music, I feel like I should be doing more.
Wow. Yeah,
And this is what's prompted your decision.
And in the spirit
only when it counts, not just for the sake of it. You don't just
no. Well, it has to be flawless album.
Of course.
Has to be flawless
Yeah.
Australian.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah, I wouldn't nominate an album that wasn't flawless.
No.
And in the spirit of not nominating albums that aren't flawless, today I make my case for Darren Hanlon and his debut solo album, Hello Stranger. So,
there we go.
Hello Stranger, which doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so that always makes research that little bit extra of a journey.
Fun game, isn't it? When you've got to go to people's individual blogs from 2002 and go try and find out information about who played the piano.
Thankfully, Darren has his own blog that he kept up during 2002, so I'll be reading you some excerpts from that later on.
Of course you will.
Sweet. Oh my God, he seems like such a blogger.
He's, super nerdy blogger guy. And also, thank God for Discogs, who can tell me that the album was released in March 2002 on Candle Records.
18th of March, I believe.
Okay, I didn't have a date. But yeah,
we haven't found
18th
that.
of March
It'll be
2000.
an Apple, maybe. I don't know. Doesn't matter.
So this episode, we'll also talk a lot about Candle Records because the Candle Records ethos ties in a lot to Darren Hanlon's mode of producing music and being an independent musician, which is really important too.
Cool.
So yeah, my history with this album, I actually don't remember how I heard about this album. I know my wife Michelle was a big Candle Records fan, and I got introduced to a lot of their stuff and their acts through her. So Candle Records were a huge...
You have to rely on redheaded women in your life to do that.
Yeah, it's important. And I like doing
just
it.
to rely on them, full stop.
Yeah.
For all things.
So Candle Records was an independent record label, ran from 94 until 2007, was based in Melbourne originally. It was huge on DIY, helping each other out, supporting the local industry. So they would put out samplers of all their songs and all their artists. All their artists would go on tour together all the time. Like if you were going to do a tour, they'd try and find you a Candle Records artist to support you on the tour. So they're people like Darren Hanlon and the Lucksmiths and the Girls from the Clouds. Lots of sort of very well known within local circles. None of those bands ever made it huge, but quite well known within sort of those indie sort of circles. Mm-hmm. And that's how I got into them, was finding out about Candle Records and then going on to see some shows, seeing Darren Hanlon play live, and then sort of started buying albums and stuff from there. My wife bought some stuff as well. So very cool, like indie label, very hipster. You know, like I said, DIY, very sort of purity sort of stuff, tote bags, cool shirts, all that, like just very cool merch stuff, and really kept alive by that love of the scene.
Yeah. I love DIY
people had
scenes.
to. Yeah, it was.
I'm from the punk DIY scene of the UK, so I'm like,
this was closer. This was more like a folk, I guess, a folk DIY scene. But yeah, just loved those Australiana bands, like singing stories about Australian life and all that sort of stuff.
At that time, that's like we're converting to music going to digital, right? So there was the samples, and it was quite a different era for Candle.
So that's how I found out, and then I got this album, and we'll talk about some of the tracks that I heard about through it, and then saw him play them live. So I've seen him heaps of times play live, and we'll talk about some live shows that he does. Yeah, I've seen him like maybe 5 or 6 times.
Okay,
and it could have been heaps more. Like there's just been times where I just either wasn't up for it, or I wasn't available, or whatever. But if I'd been here, I definitely would have seen him.
Cool, man. Excellent.
Grant.
Yes.
Before I nominated Darren Hanlon, dropped him in the group chat. Had you ever heard of our man Darren?
Not at all, which is not unsurprising, I suppose. So
no, definitely not. They had a bit of, like, the Candle Records artists had a bit of a reputation overseas, like if they would have done European tours and stuff like that. And we'll talk later about Darren doing some stuff overseas as well, but not charting. Nothing like that.
No.
Nothing like mainstream radio.
Correct. Not mainstream.
No. Yeah. They got a little bit of he got a little bit of Triple J play, and the Lucksmith did as well. But yeah, never really.
Emma, my missus, certainly when I was listening to it earlier, was like, "Oh, who's this?" So she'd heard of his voice at least, and I said, "You ever go to concert?" I wasn't sure about that, but certainly had heard him before. So,
cool.
No,
George, had you ever heard of our man Darren Hanlon?
We went to the same gig, Liam.
Did we? Was that one that you and I were at together?
We were
his Christmas one?
One of the Christmas ones at the Princess Theatre in Wollongabba. You and I were both there. We had a conversation about it. I went with my friend Laura in 2018.
No, I didn't go to the Princess Theatre in 2018.
Well, you show up on the Facebook page
okay.
as either interested or going.
Right.
So, because I saw you on there, and I was pretty sure Liam was going or whatever.
I don't remember going to the Princess. Like, I've been to the Princess Theatre a few times in the last couple of years, but I didn't think back then I had. But anyway,
well, there we
2018.
go.
Maybe I was interested in
basically, my friend Laura took pity on me, and she said, "I've got a spare ticket to Darren Hanlon," and my response was, "What's that?"
Yeah.
And she said, "I just think you'll enjoy it." And so.
And was she correct?
Well, I went to Princess Theatre, and this awkward-looking man with a guitar came out and started playing. And yes, I did enjoy it. It was a Christmas show. He was really excited because the Princess Theatre is a very beautiful building in the outskirts of Brisbane. And it happened to be decorated with Christmas trees and tinsel and all that kind of jazz. And he was like, it was really nice they put this out for me. And they didn't really. And he was
Nice.
really...
So socially awkward is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Lovely.
He's socially awkward. It was really
And
sweet.
yet he serenades like he does.
So,
Sings along. Nice. Okay, cool, man.
So basically, I first heard him then in 2018, and
So you didn't see Liam there though.
No.
Unconfirmed. He just liked.
I'm pretty
He
sure
wanted to attend. Unconfirmed.
Unconfirmed. So he was doing a Christmas show, which he does.
Yes.
But then, as a fool, I did not follow up on his music.
Right.
So when you nominated him, I was like, I know this man. Mm-hmm. Then I was like, whoa, wait, hold on. It's been over 4 years. I really should have listened to an album by now. So more for me, because I enjoyed myself. So hadn't heard a record. So pity me for taking over 4 years.
Right.
At the concert, if I may ask, did he play Christmas stuff?
No, he played stuff like he played Punk's Not Dead.
So there was no direct correlation between the theme of Christmas.
No. And he just happens to do Christmas. He'll do
like a Michael Bublé.
He does it every year as a Christmas tour.
Oh.
Yeah.
Cool.
Every year
We should be going.
But yeah, I don't know. Maybe occasionally he plays like one carol or tries to do something cool or a Christmas song or something. But it's not a Christmas song like a Michael Bublé style thing like that. It's just his songs. Okay. But he just loves, and then he tries with the Christmas ones. He'll often try and hold them in churches or halls or something.
Cool.
The Princess Theatre is like an ex sort of hall sort of thing.
It's literally a theatre.
Yeah. So
when I heard the album, it felt incredibly familiar. And comforting.
Because you'd heard it before.
Because I'd heard some of it before, literally. But he has a catalogue, so I'd heard some other stuff.
Yes, he has 6 solo albums, 4 EPs between Candle Records, and then when Candle Records shut down in 2007, he started up his own label called Flippin' Yeah Industries.
And he was in bands before that.
Yes, he was in a band called The Simpletons. And they were on Candle Records as well. So he was with them for I think 2 or 3 albums.
Cool.
And then they broke up. And he had to be sort of pushed, from what I can understand, he had to be sort of pushed into solo performance. He was kind of shopping around looking for another band to join. And Chris Crouch, I think, who founded and ran Candle Records, was like, you've got the chops. You can go and be a solo singer, songwriter person.
Which he has, because when I had a freaking look he has a very difficult profile online, but he has toured with Billy Bragg, Tim Kasher of Cursive, who we have covered, Violent Femmes, and Courtney Barnett, amongst others.
Yeah.
And so I was like, because he has a lot of Billy Bragg about him without the political nouns.
Yeah.
So, it's just... and I discovered he is currently 48 years old. And he has moved back to Gympie.
Yeah, so he lives in the home that he was raised in as a boy, I think.
Wow.
I think he bought his childhood home, or he somehow managed to get it to it.
Because his wife lived in across the Atlantic.
Okay.
His partner, and she found out she was pregnant when she was there.
Right.
And so she moved back and when they found out they were having a kid, she moved to Australia. They moved up to Gympie. The kid was born in the same hospital that he and his sisters and his parents were all born in, on the top of a hill in Gympie.
Nice.
Which is like small town. So it's like the... people out there, it's 2 hours north and inland of Brisbane.
Yep.
And nothing much happens.
Town. Yeah. And he loves small town rural Australia. So when he tours, as well as like his Christmas tours and stuff, when he just does a regular tour, he'll try and take in as many country towns and small towns as he can.
Cool.
Like he doesn't want to just be supporting a big town. So, and this was a quote from that blog that I talked about. It was from ages ago. He says, like the time I booked myself into a bar in Mackay, North Queensland, it turned out I was supporting a karaoke machine and it was rugby union night. where both teams come in for a post-match session. Falling Aeroplanes, which is a song that's not on this album, but got him a lot of radio play. It was a single that he released before it. Beautiful, beautiful song, and I wish it was on this album so I could share it with you guys. But if we ever do one of those bonus episodes where it's like pick a song from an album we've nominated, I'm hitting that song because it's just absolutely beautiful. Falling Aeroplanes had just started getting a spin on Triple J, and a mother had brought her children to see me. The rest of the crowd were walking no-neck nuggets whose tolerance for original sensitive pop music was zero. When the fullback came up mid-song and breathed into my face, "If you don't stop playing now, the guys are going to kill you," I was open to his advice. I could have easily played covers to keep them happy, but I kept thinking about the family who'd come to see me. I couldn't let them down. Only one thing would save me. I nervously announced that for the rest of the set, I'd be performing selections from the Cold Chisel back catalogue, and a cheer went up. From then on, they didn't seem to notice that I was still playing all my own songs, and the family went home happy.
Wow.
So he was just like, yeah, here's my version of Flame Trees. Just plays his own song.
Do you know what his current biggest claim to fame and most requested thing is at live shows?
Not off the top of my head.
Illuminate us.
It is he was a guest star briefly, 4 lines in the children's cartoon Bluey.
Right.
And he played a farm dog that he was able to base on a farm dog he had growing up, who was an energy salesman. And so now at his shows, because everyone that goes to see him has fucking kids, they all go up and they all request that he just recites the 4 lines that he said in Bluey, where he tries to say, "Have I got someone else to talk to?"
Yeah.
And it's really adorable. So that's his most...
I hope he gets paid a lot for that. So in terms of Candle Records, what when it shuts down, do the royalties there's nothing exists? Like you can still sing the songs. There's no.
I assume all the.
How does it all work? How's it
knowing
work?
what we know about them, I assume all the royalties went back to the artists. Because I assume unless like some big. So what happens sometimes with a small label is a bigger label can come in and buy it, and they would buy the ownership of the recordings and that sort of stuff, anything that the label owns the recording of.
Yes.
Whether or not the Candle Records contracts even say that the label owns the recording or whether they just keep the recording with the artist. But I would assume that the ownership flowed back to and it was, Candle Records it wasn't able to make money and it needed to make more money than it was. So.
No, sure.
Do you have a list of the people that were on this record?
I have a massive list. So Darren Hanlon obviously does a lot of the legwork and does most of the vocals and the guitars and banjo and that sort of thing. But helping him out, he has Jodie Phyllis, who's one of the girls from The Clouds. The Clouds being an awesome Brisbane band. Lee, and when I say the girls from The Clouds were like a 4 or a 5 piece, and then Jodie Phyllis and another lady who were in the band played as solo as the girls from The Clouds.
Oh, okay.
So when I call them that, I'm not saying those girls from The Clouds. It's like that's the actual band name. And I think the girls from The Clouds...
Infantilizing them.
That's right, yeah. The girls from The Clouds, I think, were on Candle Records, even though The Clouds were on a bigger label.
Okay.
Lee Hillam and Tim Oxley also do some backing vocals. Jeff Towner plays some bass guitar. Brie Van Reek does, and Oren Ambaki and Richard King all do drums. So I think the whole point of this album was
and Jeremy Challenger does piano and Samantha Forth does strings.
I'm still going.
Oh, sorry.
But I was just going to introduce the idea that this was not an album that came together with 4 or 5 people getting into a studio together and recording all the bits of it. There's some contributions in here from people who are overseas. So it's like the vocalists would come in or the drums would get played overseas and they'd send the recording over. So Chris Townsend engineered and recorded it and also plays the harmonica. Claire Cooper plays the harp. Nick Summers plays the pedal steel. Jeremy Callender plays the piano. Phil Punch recorded it, except for the bits over in Europe. David Murr recorded those. All songs are written by Darren Hanlon. Brie Van Reek plays the vibraphone. Love the vibraphone. Samantha Fonte plays the violin. And then Frida Eklund plays vocals, which we'll get to in a bit. And then Darren himself plays the vocals, guitar, pump organ, and the banjo.
And Chris Townend, who was the producer, is now producing Portishead.
Yes.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
And he also let... Darren sleep on the sofa in the studio because he was made homeless around the time of recording, and Chris was just like, dude, just sleep on the sofa.
Yeah.
It's fine. And so literally did that whilst he was recording a record.
Chris also has a 9-year-old son who plays glockenspiel on the album, who's a genius glockenspiel. He's in a band, the 9-year-old, with a band called the Poo Touchers with his dad.
Well, he was 9 then.
Yeah, 9
so
then. So he's 20s. What is it, 2002, 2005?
2002.
So 32 now.
21 plus 9.
Yeah.
30. All
and
right.
so he's getting in all these people who do these different parts. So like a harp player and a pedal steel player. And he said they all come from a different background. So they're like, what do you call this music? They think my music's weird. Because like he's playing folk, but he's having a harp. And you don't have a harp with most folk and that sort of stuff. So they're all like, I don't normally play on folk songs. And it's like, well, you can play on this one. It's all good.
And it starts with
hiccups. It's such a beautiful, gentle opening with like the banjo solos in between and like the banjo and the xylophone and that sort of thing.
There is no getting away from him being Australian.
No. This whole album is so
Queensland.
It's very Australian, very Queensland, very rural country.
Yeah, rural country.
And suburban, a little bit of suburban stuff as well, but not like big city
And
stuff.
he said last instead of last in one of the songs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like I put Aussie down because it was like very important that he obviously sings to his roots.
Yeah. And I think some of his follow-up stuff I've listened to most of his albums, and some of the follow-up stuff he's obviously evolved over time and his production has evolved and he's got access to more things. And
of course
he hasn't got a lot of money, but he's got some money. And I think it actually loses a bit of the feel of this album where you can feel the roughness. You can feel that this is some people going in, recording in places where they can. He even said, I read an interview where he said he didn't like, so the very last song, The Last Night of Not Knowing You, he actually enjoys the demo more than the final track of that.
Oh, wow.
What a great track, huh?
And he said, and then the interviewer said, oh, actually, that's one of my favorites. And he said, oh, that's good. I'm glad you said that. It justifies spending the money on the massive studio that we used to do that one. We ran out of time in the studio we were in. We didn't know what to do. We were just going to do it in a hall with an old piano. And it kind of sounds like a bit Billy Joel to me. The demo was all done with one mic in a room and there was something magic about it. And it turned out really nice, something you can never get again.
One mic for the whole thing?
For the demo.
Yeah, for the demo.
So when they're like, this is what the song's going to be like, and they just all sat around one mic and did a thing.
Wow.
And that's right. And it's like, you can't, like, that's that ultimate DIY, is like that ultimate. I would love to now hear that demo, and I'm sure he's released it probably on like bonus discs or something like that. But just like that idea.
Double tick from Granty for
you
that
can
one.
never get that back again.
Yeah. Longest song. Totally worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I did a lot
we can jump to the end.
Yeah, we'll jump to the end because it's a really beautiful song, and it's nearly 5 minutes, which, like, considering his last 3 songs are like 3:20 or whatever. But it's sweet with that soft piano, and it's got the lyrics.
A friend in a band was what brought you there too. On the last night of not knowing you. The last night of not knowing you.
Yeah, so the whole thing is that idea of he's talking about the night that they meet, that he meets the love of his life, or it's sort of the night before as he meets her, and all these little pieces that had to fall into play to make that happen. And he does, and that idea that he has no idea that this, like, that last night of not knowing who she is so foundational. It's going to be so foundational to who he is going forward. So it's, opens with just Darren and the guitar, and then the piano comes in for a bridge, and then and the next bridge, it's actually like a threshing of the guitar, like the acoustic, like it's really cool. And then it pulls back to just piano for my favorite part of the song, where it says,
it's easy to say with hindsight in your hand. Some divine puppeteer had the whole meeting planned. But what if the promoter had have pulled out as some promoters do? The band wouldn't have played the gig, would have fell through. An earthquake could have split this planet in two. On the last night of not knowing you. Last night of not knowing you.
Oh, you old
Which
romantic.
is so
Look at
so
him,
awesome.
man.
I love
You're
Hey.
so gooey. Do you say that to
You're
Michelle?
gooey.
No,
I was just
oh.
thinking that.
It's too cheesy for me to say it to Michelle.
It's
It would
not,
be.
it's
I
so
think it's nice,
hard.
though.
You
Also,
should
I would
go-
have to remember the night I actually met her, which is roughly there, but not quite there. So it's
Wow.
yeah. But one thing I did want to say is so many albums start off with their 3 best songs, and then we're trying to figure out whether they held their shape all the way through to the end.
Yeah.
I think this album ends with its 3 best songs. I think this album goes out on Punk's Not Dead, Treat the Future, and Last Night of Not Knowing You. I think
She's
that
just gone to bed, man.
yeah.
Cool track.
So I think
I love Punk's
this
Not
album.
Dead.
So Punk's Not Dead, very cool. That's the
Very
that's
cool.
the big single.
Funky guitars in layers and donkey drums, and in this the punk is like this housemate that showed up, and I just love the fact that it's just like in the lyrics.
At night the house is quiet, you might wonder why. But Punk's not dead, she's just gone to bed. Punk's not dead, she's just gone to bed.
Yeah, so cool. And it's that Australian share house living too. Is like where some you put a notice up on a notice board. This is all pre-internet, and she showed up, and if she could pay the rent, then you didn't. He obviously didn't care.
Yeah.
What her lifestyle was or anything
But
like that.
the actual whole song chills out at the very end.
Yeah, there's a tempo change at the end, the very end of the song. It's so weird.
Because she's gone to bed.
Yeah.
Like literally, he's just like, she's gone to bed, she's gonna sleep, so the whole song gets to chill out.
Yeah. So that got number 45 in the 2002 Hottest 100.
Oh,
so that was a
I'm so
real,
happy.
real big one. But I will say, anyone who bought the album going, oh, it's going to be a whole lot of upbeat, folky, kind of punky songs,
Incorrect.
would have been maybe disappointed. Like, go and see him first, and then you'll have a bit more of a snapshot of what kind of stuff he was.
That was in 2003. Triple J, is it? When
it was in the 2002 Hottest 100, so it
Which
would
is
have been
reflective.
announced in January 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Just confirming how it all works. Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a permanent,
And then
like
the
a permanent
Cheat
fixture
the
on my
Future,
album. Cheat
Don't
the Future,
Try.
my favorite song on the album, like one of I say one of my favorite songs a lot, but it's
It
yeah,
has-
absolutely right up there. Love it. The banjo, the cool intro where he starts
Yeah.
it, and it's almost like it's that fake start, and he stops, and then he starts thrashing
I
a bit, and then
wasn't
comes
sure
back
if
into
it
it
was
again.
banjo or mandolin when I was listening, but
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure it's banjo. I think he does play banjo on a fair few.
cool, because it's got some beautiful picking and
Yeah.
then flailing on it, so that's cool.
And and most of it is quite low beat at the start through the banjo parts, and then when he goes always chewing on fingernails, surrender or set sail, it lifts up, and the drums start kicking in. There's like a boom, boom, like really
This
cool drum
really
part all the way through.
distorted, noisy instrument
Yeah,
comes
yeah.
in. Like I wasn't sure, I couldn't discern what it was.
But yeah,
there's lyrics in there which I thought was like really just so fucking cute. But the only thing he thinks about, the only thing he needs to know is not his time and place of birth, but only that he's born in the same galaxy as her.
so awesome. Like looking up at the stars, and like there's a million stars and a million universes that we all exist in, but he doesn't care about any of that because he's in the same place as her.
I know, right?
So
and I was
cool.
just like, he was born. Like, I'm gonna use that again, like with my partner. I'm just gonna be like, when he's being smooshy, I'll just be like, I'm so glad I was born in the same galaxy as you. And he'll love that because he's really into aerospace.
Yeah, my favorite lyric from the song is,
It's living with a spoon of sugar, but take it with a grain of salt. You can't blame him for dreaming, that cannot be a fault. Always judging books by what's written on the sleeve. Make sure you don't read everything that you believe.
You're so good at reciting things.
thank you. They won't have heard that, but that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine.
He's such a clever lyricist, and you could be lulled into a false sense of like, he's just singing really straightforward stuff if you just sort of let yourself flow into the music. But if you really pay attention to those lines, he is super, super clever.
Very.
And just, like creating that imagery and that Australian suburban imagery every time, like share house living and all that sort of stuff.
Well, if we're going backwards, Cast of Thousands with Frida Eklund
This is so cool.
Alma and Little Eiffel bands.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is such a beautiful song, and he doesn't sing on it.
He doesn't sing it.
Not a word.
No, so he wrote the song and then was like, this is a song written from a woman's perspective. I shouldn't sing it. And he got his partner at the time, Frida, who was living over in Sweden. We'll talk about Operator Get Me Sweden in a second.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was just like, how often do you hear that of a guy writing a song and then going, it's from a woman's perspective, I shouldn't sing it, and then getting someone else to sing it?
There's solo guitar and strumming, drum clicks and harmonica. But can I give you some homework?
Yeah.
I need you to search for Cast of Thousands, Darren Hanlon, Coastal Sound Youth Choir, 2012. Because there's a Canadian choir in a high school that covered this song in harmonies. And then during the little solo bit in the middle, they all play recorder, which is so cute. But during the same concert, they covered Flight the Conchords, Tom Waits, and Polyphonic Spree and Fleet Foxes.
Nice.
So whoever is their music director is amazing.
Sound Youth Choir.
Coastal Sound Youth Choir 2012. 2012, but yeah, and they're based in Canada, and for some reason they sing Cast of Thousands by Darren Hanlon in 2012, 10 years after this album comes out.
Just loved it that much.
And I listened
Such a beautiful
to it.
song.
Honestly, I watched it and I had a tear.
Yeah.
Really? Just a single one for dramatic effect?
Dramatic tear. Dramatic tear.
Left or right eye?
Right eye, always.
Always.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the lead.
That's where it starts. That's the one that starts.
Yeah, but honestly, it's really good. But I just thought it was really cool that 10 years after this obscure album came out in Gympie or wherever, or in Melbourne, Canadian high school choir covered.
Well,
a
there
song
must have
from
been
it.
an Aussie over there that was doing.
Well,
it had to be.
To bring Flight the Conchords in the same recital, you must have done. But anyway, that's.
I really liked on Cast of Thousands words.
Now I get a pang of pleasure seeing your legs suspended. Shame they can cover us in plaster, and in 6 weeks all is mended.
Yeah,
I was like,
so it's
that's
cool
a good one, right?
She hears they break up, and then she hears that he broke his leg, and I think there's an element of "you'll need me."
Yeah.
And she comes to visit, and instead he's surrounded by family and friends, and he saved her a space on the cast for the sign. She's like, "Oh, thanks for saving me a space in your life, I guess." And there's a little element because he's got his leg up in the air, so there's a little element of like, I kind of like that you're in pain because we broke up.
Yeah.
But also imagine if we could have just put our relationship in plaster and it would have just fixed itself over time.
Oh, stop
so
it.
cool.
Fell off a horse. Yeah.
Stop it.
Grant, any other double ticks from you?
Oh, look, it's what I liked is a lot of it is whilst you acknowledge he's very clever with his songwriting. I found that most of them is quite simple to understand. Like Kickstand, like it's a cool song, right?
So cool.
It's a cool song, and I'm like, what a joy to bring, and off it goes, a piece of metal and a spring, and so I thought that was like a nice one from Hiccups, just a bit slower.
Do you know what I liked about that?
Yeah.
Lyrically, I felt like you could put that into like a folk punk song and on a skate video or a mountain biking video, and people would be like, "Oh yeah, do you know that song Kickstand?" Yeah, and it would be like totally cool. But actually, it's just like a really sweet song about genuinely loving a bicycle.
Yeah. I think like that spirit of invention for the sake of invention, and it's great that I'd make money from it, but that's not what I did. I did it to see the smiling faces on kids and parents. So he says,
there'll be articles in newspapers and dinners at the town hall. My first check's for $1,000, now that's one spicy meatball. But all the fame and fortune in the world will not compare to the joy it'll bring, piece of metal and a spring.
Yeah.
So just like I like the money, but that's not why I did it for. But he calls it a spicy meatball. Like that's just that little clever like play on words and
Really
stuff like that.
buddies on that one.
Nice. Yeah, so cool. Nice, sweet, understated piano all the way through there as well. That one is really cool.
I also thought Security Leak was an interesting one
Yeah,
as well.
that one's, it's hard to get your head around that one a
Pretty
little bit
guitar.
sometimes. Yeah.
Chinese torture, and then he's like, well, why do the Chinese know more about torture? Like,
Yeah, where did they learn?
And I have to find out what you know.
Yeah. So it's like interrogating someone from his
Yeah,
past.
like-
It's got a bit of lap steel, and a bit of steel drum, I think, as well. Like in the drumming as well. I thought there was some cool stuff in there.
For $300,000, you'll catch the perfect kiss on film, because that said the said the film, or at least it
In the 40s.
did back in the 40s.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like just saying like the perfect kiss only exists in the 1940s for all that money, and what a waste of money it was.
Yeah.
And stuff like that, which I thought was like really sweet. But there's slide guitar in that one, which I really enjoyed. So there's dirty guitar and slide guitar, and in Security Leak, she just knows too much.
Yeah.
Doesn't she?
Yeah.
He does not like it. That's where it comes from.
Yeah.
He doesn't like how much she knows. But we have to go to operator Get Me Sweden.
Yeah.
Because obviously we've talked about her already.
Yes. Frida.
So this is his partner. And he says,
I really must apologize for my compulsive behavior. One left his heart in San Francisco, mine's in Scandinavia.
Yeah.
which is a really
cool.
good like
Clever.
rhyming couplet.
Yeah. And it could have been like Operator Get Me Sweden. It could have just been about the girl in Sweden, the whole thing, and then you call it Operator Get Me Sweden because I'm trying to get there. But the whole song is being sung to the operator.
I know.
Yeah.
It's what I was.
He calls her you are this Earth's long distance love ambassador. That's so cool. Like he's like not just doing it into for the sake of it. Like, oh no, this is a song sung to that person.
Yeah, it's literally to the phone operator.
And the strings in it are perfect.
Yeah. Just like there's like these dark, twangy guitar plucks on the bridges, like very Australian, very sort of crowded house, New Zealand ice house sort of thing.
But the
But
mini
then
solo.
the cello suite comes through as well. Like it's really cool.
So, and it felt like a follow-on from Who Misses You Too, you know.
Yeah, which is one of my I wrote down it's one of my most beautiful love songs, but it's kind of love / breakup
It is, of course,
song.
it is. Yeah,
like it's,
yeah.
but it's still so beautiful because it is, you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of maturity in it, eh?
Yeah.
Like
So it's another Australian thing. It's like it's this girl who he used to live in a share house with, and you can picture it straight away. It's like she left to be with a partner and go and live somewhere, the two of them, and then the partners decided they have to travel, and they've decided to break up because they don't want to try and stay together while they're long distance and traveling and stuff. And then she's sad about it, so she calls her friend who she used to live in a house with, and he's like, "It's okay, you're sad, but you're thinking of him, and he's still thinking of you. Don't think that he hates you and he's dumped you and he's going off to better
and
things."
the flight attendant's serving him his meal now. It's just like it's very.
But it has the thing which I am always scared of, where he sings, "It's hard to become whole when you're usually referred to as his better half." And I was like, oh no, like, yeah, sometimes in a relationship you do give so much of yourself to the other person and that relationship that there is an absence and you feel like you have lost your better half or other people perceive you that way. And it was just like a really poignant way of putting it.
And I think often there's some twee like hipster stuff on that, because the next line after that is where he says, "You're still the girl who chops onions wearing swimming goggles."
Yes.
So it's still like you're still that sort of folksy kind of twee girl. You know, your life will still go on, that sort of thing, which is really cool.
It's really cool. And we literally have worked backwards through this record.
We have.
So in That's How I Know, he sings,
Doesn't take a Sherlock Holmes to decipher all your poems, as
And I'm like, yeah, I've got so many pseudo abstract poems in my notes folder in my iPhone, and I'm like, nah, they're so obvious. But yeah.
So this is where I wanted to talk about one of the things that he does occasionally, which is one of what I call his twist songs, which is just like when you're talking about movies and TVs and that and TV shows and that sort of stuff, the perfect twist happens at the end of something, but the story that you told before it has to be able to stand alone. If the whole thing was leading to it was just about the twist and it was obvious there was always going to be a twist, it's not the same.
Not the same, correct.
You want to tell a story and then twist it at the end and you go, oh my God, that's amazing. And you didn't need that for the story to be great. And this is one of those songs that he does because he's talking about this girl and her partner and how they had a fight. And then at the very end, he goes, he tells that he can she slept on his lounge. And he can just tell that by the
smell
perfume.
the perfume of the sofa.
So the whole way through, it's about them fighting, and they'll probably be okay, and they'll be doing their thing. And then at the very last line of it is like, "Oh no, you've broken up with him, and you slept on my sofa last night, but I can only tell from your perfume."
The perfume you left behind.
Yeah. So one of his most popular songs is called "Elbows." It's from a couple of albums after this one, and it was allegedly a true story of how he was at a club with somewhere, and then across the room he locked eyes with like a very, very famous woman, very, very famous actress. Like the theory is like Nicole Kidman level famous.
Wow.
And they sort of met in the middle of the dance floor, and then instead of actually talking, they just brushed elbows. And then the whole song, that's why it's called Elbows. And the whole thing about it is like, he's like being super mature about it. He's like, I didn't want, we weren't really going to do anything. We weren't going to have a conversation about how great you were and how great I was. So we just had that one interaction on the dance floor. We touched elbows, and then we left it at that. And we had like that most intimate of human connections, like a physical touch.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then we left it. But the song ends. Now the innocent DJ still spins his black moons and keeps us all moving with his faithful tunes. The lights not in sync. They're mechanically powered. We only touched elbows, and I still haven't showered. So just that last half a line, he's like, "Oh, I'm really cool about you being a celebrity, but also since we touched, I haven't had a shower." So there's these little half twists at the end of songs that just make a huge difference, and that's how I know is one of those. It's like it's a bit more straightforward focus, almost country-esque. It's got like a lot of the acoustic guitar and the percussion and the pianos, and I've got the lyric buddies on the lyrics that you gave us to St. George.
Yay.
And then at the end, it's like about hanging out with a friend, and then at the very end, realizing she broke up with her boyfriend and slept on the lounge.
Yeah,
but isn't there now.
Reference.
So like she's gone, and then he's like waking up, and so it was so cool.
Noticed, yeah.
Well, ask him in person when you go to the concert in December, right?
Yeah, that's it.
So we'll see you there, Darren.
10 months time.
Yeah. Cool. We've spoken
Okay.
to all.
Yeah, we've gone through the whole album. I
just
don't have any more notes for you guys unless you have anything else you want to ask or any final thoughts. Or are you happy for me to jump to the final pitch?
Let's go.
It was a huge album.
39 minutes, 10 songs.
Yes. So that's part of the beauty of it. It's 39 minutes and it's 10 songs. It's this beautiful Australiana folk. It's achingly beautiful. It's incredibly suburban Australian. I almost think you couldn't, like, I suspect that you guys missed some of that stuff because you didn't have that thing of growing up in suburban Australian share house living, that sort of thing.
I lived in loads of share houses.
Share house living, but it's not. Yeah, I think it can be a little different with Australia, but
of course it is.
Superb instrumentation, all very DIY and produced and mixed to feel that way, which is what I talked about. Like, I love that feel. Like, this is Darren and a group of people almost struggling to get a thing together and put it all together because there's so many different moving parts. It's an absolute minimum of studio tricks, so it just allows all the instrumentation and the vocals and the songwriting to stand alone. He's one of Australia's great songwriters, and I think he's never better than when he was on his first album, which is why I think it's flawless.
There you go.
Oh, cool.
George,
Hello.
I'll throw over to you for a final thought and a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
Okie dokes. So, as I said, I first heard him when my friend took me to a gig and said, "You'll like this." And I was like, "I believe you." And I went and I said at the end, "I liked that." And she said, "I knew you would." And so I didn't buy any merch or anything. And pity me for taking over 4 years and a flawless nomination.
We had a lot of stuff. We've had a lot of stuff to listen to over 4 years.
I'm knackered.
Yeah.
But pity me. So took a flawless nomination to listen to a full album. So I love when folky Americana does what it's supposed to do and comes in under the 40-minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, 10 tracks under 40 minutes. Yep. If you've got something to say,
Yeah.
it's good. It works on a theme. It's like heartfelt and I think quite truthful, to a fault almost. I think he's so open with himself that it's like leaves him vulnerable by the music that he produces. But lucky us, we get to hear it and consume what he does. So I didn't know anything about him when I first heard him, and I didn't know what to expect when I heard the album. I recognized a couple of the tracks, and then I got really annoyed. And I got annoyed at Liam. And I got annoyed at Liam because he nailed it for me and brought me a flawless album that I should have brought myself if I'd have put the fucking effort in 4 years ago and listened to him properly after I really enjoyed his gig.
Yeah.
I could have been like, Liam, and then throw my dick around and say, I'm bringing you an Australian folk idol.
Yes.
But you got there first, made me listen
But
to it.
it's not about point scoring, so that's
Yes.
Oh, it's all about
But
points.
apparently it is all.
Apparently.
Someone,
yeah.
But yeah,
Now we find out.
I should have brought this. I am declaring it flawless from my perspective. There's nothing I'd skip or move. I think Darren is an absolute Australian treasure. So a well done to you, sir.
Cool.
There you go.
Thank you.
Lovely.
Grant. Thank you, George. Final thoughts for Grant, and a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
So Darren Hanlon, Hello Stranger, never heard of him, or the albums, anything like that. I don't think you're far off Australian treasure. I genuinely think it was. This is a lovely album. It's inoffensive. I think it's to what you referenced earlier, Liam. You can, if it's on in the background, that's fine. But when you listen to what the guy's talking about, he's very, very clever and articulate and puts things very, very well. And yeah, look, it's flawless. I can spin it how you want and
Nice.
and add anything to it or I wouldn't. It's great. I really enjoyed it. It is happy and thought provoking and. Thanks so much for bringing it. It really is a nice album.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, definitely check out some of his other stuff. They're not quite up to that level, but yeah, everything. There's value in everything that he does. That's for sure.
Oh,
Yeah, it's lovely. This is great, guys.
And, I'll definitely link you to Airplanes because I think, and you'll have to have a bit of a cry on that one because it's super beautiful.
fuck off! I'm a punk.
a single tear again. Just?
Single tier, maybe
The right
more.
eye?
Single tier, yeah.
So thank you both for your thoughts and for
Thank you for
participating.
bringing it, bud.
And we want to thank everyone for listening. We have Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are Flawless AMP on all of those. So you can join the conversation, share or like our posts, and give us a rating. Every little bit helps us find more music lovers like you. As mentioned, we also have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/flawlessamp. If you'd like to back us, please check that out. Thanks again for listening, and we will see you next time.
Try to treat the future like inherited debt or wealth. Don't try to cheat the future, 'cause you're just cheating yourself.